All right, let's get into our next topic. So we haven't talked about this story all week, but I think it's time we dive in now because there's a report out by Dan Graziano of ESPN, and he reports that there's some concern with how Russell Wilson will potentially succeed or fail, or how he'll actually work within this new Sean Payton offense. So I don't know, what are your expectations for Russell Wilson after an abysmal year last year?
He'll be better. And he should be good in Sean Payton's offense because all the quarterbacks that Sean Payton's ever coached have been good in his offense, right? Jameis Winston had over 100 quarterback rating in his offense. Teddy Bridgewater had over 100 quarterback rating and a 5-1 record playing with Sean Payton. We all know what Drew Brees did, right? So I don't think it will be the strategy or the plays and the structure of the offense that's going to be an issue. It's just whether Russell Wilson can step up and learn the offense and thrive in it.
Yeah. Well, I've been talking about this all off season and throughout last season. We didn't talk much about the Broncos because there really was nothing to talk about with the Broncos. But I did say I would consider the way Russell Wilson's career is trending to be exactly that, a trend. This is not some sort of blip that you could say, oh, it's just one bad year, like we could do maybe with the Trevor Lawrence with the Urban Meyer situation. We can now classify that as a blip. We saw Brett Favre, he got hurt. You could maybe mark that as a blip because he came back and made the playoffs with the Vikings, had a chance to make it to a Super Bowl. We've had some, like Tom Brady's 2019 season was a blip. He did not actually fall off a cliff here. He went out, won a Super Bowl, and also threw for 5,300 yards after the fact. Could Aaron Rodgers, could he be on the same trend of maybe is it a blip, maybe is it a trend? Who knows? But for Russell Wilson, I'm considering this 100% a trend because we've actually seen a decline in Russell Wilson's career from his ending years with the Seahawks, now immediately starting off with the Denver Broncos. I mean, he had career lows in basically everything. The completion percentage was an all-time low. Passing yards was one of his lowest of his career. Touchdowns was by far the lowest, by 9. Actually, the 9 was from the previous year. 2021, last year with the Seahawks, he had 25. Then it went to 16. And the year before both those, he had 40. So we do see the sort of decline. Interceptions, 11. Most since 2020. So Russell Wilson, he's sort of been on this decline, but I will give you your credit when credit's due. Sean Payton has sort of a Kyle Shanahan effect when it comes to quarterbacks. He's seen success with Teddy Bridgewater. He's seen success with Taysom Hill, Jameis Winston. So I'll give you that. 100%. He's had some success with other quarterbacks, and it's impressive when you think Taysom Hill went like 7-2. Jameis Winston had 14 touchdowns, 3 picks. So we're talking about a coach who knows his stuff. And while it's not fair to put him maybe in the top 8 of coaches because he hasn't coached in a year or so, you still got to put him in his top 10 because of what he can bring to the table. Yeah. Maybe not what he's brought, in the past year.
No, I think that Russell Wilson should be confident that Sean Payton's going to bring an offense that you can win with.
Yes,
and that he can thrive in, and he should. But he played terrible last year. I'm sorry. I mean, they could have been 11-6 if they'd only scored 20 points a game. 20 points a game. That's not that hard to do.
I think the average
I think a lot of games they had like 9 points a game.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. I mean, that's terrible. And he didn't have any tools out there on the field. He had some pretty good wide receivers, right? He had a decent running back, although Melvin Gordon is somebody who fumbled the ball a lot, right?
Well, and he also had Javonte Williams who tore his ACL, down the line last season. But you were abysmal. Like your playmaking was bad. You're making mistake after mistake. I mean, the pinnacle of how that season was going to turn out, we probably could have saw back in Week 5 against the Indianapolis Colts, when Matt Ryan, who looked horrible at that point in the season, and Russell Wilson battled it off, and I believe that was a Thursday night game. It went to overtime, and that was probably like the most. I'm sorry, did that go to? I'm pretty sure. I'll look it up right now. Did this go to overtime? Yeah, it went to overtime. It was the most boring game to watch, and at one point, Russell Wilson, I think it took him until like week 14 to throw for more passing touchdowns than he had bathrooms in his house. I mean, that's pretty bad when people are calling you a Hall of Famer. And if we're talking about now, a quarterback who apparently people are calling a Hall of Famer right now, and he goes up with Sean Payton and they don't perform very well, I think there should be a movement to strip him of his proverbial gold jacket that people are giving him. I've talked about it before. Russell Wilson has not been, Russell Wilson has not led a top 10 passing offense for most of his years in the NFL. But has he had a top 5 rushing attack in the NFL? Yeah, he has. And is he partially a part of that? Yes, he's a more mobile quarterback than most other quarterbacks in the league. And he actually dialed that back the past couple of years. But this is a pass-first league. Now, you did win a Super Bowl, but you had a hellacious defense, and that's something else that Russell Wilson has benefited for. So I'm not too sure. My expectations are, last season, Russell Wilson himself, because he was dealing with an injury, Russell Wilson himself, I'll bring it up right now, he went 4-11. Can he double his win total? He should. 100% he should. He's getting his running back. He lost Tim Patrick, but his wide receivers are coming back healthier. Sean Payton boosted that offensive line. That defense is still great. So I'm expecting at least double your win total. And that means that overall your passing stats should be much better.
I agree with you. 100%.
If we're talking about it, I mean, this guy, people are calling a Hall of Famer.
I think the Broncos will win some games just because they got a very good defense.
Yeah.
And if Russell Wilson doesn't throw so many interceptions at least, and the running game's half decent, they should win some of those games just because of the keeping the other offense off the field because the defense is good.
Right.
So I think good defense is really important. They've got a good defense, and I think the defense was very frustrated last year with how poor the offense was. They called Russell Wilson right out on the field.
One of the defensive tackles was getting in his face.
Getting in his face. Like, yes, come on, guy. What's going on here?
It was pretty bad. I want to make sure I get this correct. Last year, if I'm not mistaken, Baker Mayfield scored like 50 points on this team. I may be mistaken, but I believe that is the case. Baker Mayfield, this is one of Baker Mayfield's like light 'em up games where he actually absolutely torched the Broncos, because I know obviously we had the Raider comeback game, and that's actually the episode before that game. We mentioned how, or at least I mentioned how, I thought Baker Mayfield will never get another starting job. Lo and behold, he gets 2. Actually,
you're wrong.
Actually, well, the Bucs, we don't know. He could. Right now, according to, I thought about doing this topic, but I did it on Wednesday. Baker Mayfield may lose his starting job. He may lose his starting job to Kyle Trask. He might want to retire. The Rams dropped 51 on this defense and on this team. Russell Wilson was injured for that game, however, but still. Now, here's a good sign. The Broncos can get on some sort of a run here because their first 4 games are Raiders, Commanders, Dolphins, and Bears. There's a really, really good shot.
It should be 3-1.
They should be 3-1, if not 4-0 if you beat the Dolphins. I don't think you could beat the Dolphins. However, 3-1 is still a great start.
The Dolphins?
It is at Dolphins, yes.
Yeah. They probably won't. Well, they might not win that one.
But then your next 4 games, depending on if people start believing in Sean Payton and believing in Russell Wilson again, the next 4 games are Jets, Chiefs, Packers, Chiefs.
Oh. Wow.
You're going to go 1-3 there. So there is a shot when you hit your bye week, you're 4-4. There is a pretty decent shot you're 4-4. And then you go in and play, you play the rest of the season not that easy. Bills, Vikings, Browns, Texans, Chargers, Lions, Patriots, Chargers, Raiders. That's not an entirely easy schedule there. Your only definite wins probably are the Texans and Browns. I think the Patriots will give you, some trouble.
Yep.
The Chargers obviously will give you trouble. The Lions had a high-flying offense last year, and they retained their OC.
Yeah.
The Vikings, they went 11-0 in one-score games, made the playoffs. Kirk Cousins, I think he's part of like the top 30 or 40 players according to the players in that NFL Top 100 list. The Bills obviously going to give you some pause. And the Raiders, we don't know. Will Jimmy G be hurt at that point? I'm not entirely sure. But I do think there's hope.
The Broncos are in a tough division.
Yeah, I would say
the Chargers and the Chiefs are very good teams. So
You're not giving it to the Raiders? Raiders aren't a good team?
I don't think they're going to be that good. The most people pick them to be last in the division.
I would 100% do it. Unless Russell Wilson looks like trash again, then I think Jimmy G has a shot to overtake him.
Maybe.
So I'm not too sure. But the fact that Russell Wilson, a Hall of Fame quarterback, a first-year head coach like Sean Payton with this Broncos team, developing an offense, and Russell Wilson is already, not great in it, I think we could, that's not great, and I feel more confident in my prediction early in the offseason and late last season that Russell Wilson, this could be the downward spin for him. This could be, the beginning of the end.
It will be if he has a lousy season this year. That will say he is on the way down,
and I think that's
for
rightfully
sure.
so.
There's no rebound. He's just trending badly.
Because Sean Payton is a well-respected coach. I mean, like you said.
And
Teddy
you know
Bridgewater.
what? There's a chance he might not be starting later in the year if he really performs poorly. They have Stidham.
Maybe.
He played okay in this last few games for the Raiders. So they brought him in, paid him reasonable bucks to be there. So they might go to him. I don't know why they didn't try to get Jameis Winston. Why didn't they try to go get him?
I want to do a Jameis Winston topic soon.
Yeah, I do too. I think he's.
We'll do it Monday.
He's dissed. And treated poorly. Maybe it shouldn't be.
Yeah, maybe. We'll do that topic for Monday. So Monday we'll talk about Jameis Winston because I really liked the quote he had recently. But I do think there could be a potential chance, like you said, Jarrett Stidham pulling up if Russell
Wilson falls on his face.
Well, not only that, if he just has close, he doesn't need to have 100% 1-to-1 repeat of last year. But if it's close to last year. I think Sean
if it's
Payton
close to last year, they'll bench him.
No,
I think.
I do think that is a potential outcome. But we'll have to wait and see. The Broncos, they start off easy, and then you go a little bit of a tough streak later on in the year. But under Sean Payton, Russell Wilson should at least double his win total and get to 8 wins. But of course, we will have to see. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, if you want to check out the full episode, make sure you click the I in the top right-hand corner right now. If you want to listen to this show anywhere you go, make sure you go to anchor.fm/The Harvey Hour or anywhere you get your podcasts.